I start off with several different colored ink pads. I chose some really bright kind of springy colors, and I just start dabbing them all around my craft mat. And I try to start with the lighter colors and then move to the darker colors, just in case your ink pad touches a color that you've already put down. It doesn't really contaminate it too much. And then I take a mister with some water and I just spray over the inks. And I take a damp brush and mix the inks together. And this will help to bead them up and make it so that you don't really see the squareness of your ink pad on your print. And then I take a sheet of paper and just lay it over and press it down. And you'll see that you'll still have some ink on your craft mat. So I'll just take my mister and add a little more water, and then I place my paper back down. Usually I'll flip it so that the top is now the bottom, and grab some more ink. And you can keep adding inks to your paper. You can decide whether you want some more color, or if there's a spot on your paper that isn't quite covered in the inks. I decided to add a little more to the top of my paper, which didn't get a lot of ink in that area. And then I flip it over and do it to the bottom also. And as I was looking at my paper, I realized I had a spot at the corner there that looked really blocky, and I just took my mister and added a little more water to it to help the ink disperse out and not look so much like a square. And before you start cutting out your paper with a punch or with scissors, you're going to want to make sure that it's nice and bone dry. You can just let it be and let it dry on its own, or you can take the easy way out and use a heat gun or a hair dryer to speed along the process. And I just take some scissors and cut off the big portion of white so that my punch has easier access to the more saturated portions of color on the paper. And I'm using a round punch. If you had an egg-shaped punch, that would be fantastic for this, but you can still make a round punch work for an egg. You're just going to take a pencil and draw in lines to help your circle become more egg-shaped. And when you're happy with the shape, go ahead and cut it out. And you'll use this first one as your template for the rest of your eggs. And this is me being confused because I thought I had a third one. And I just lay it over and use that to cut out my other eggs. And you can also use different size punches to make different sized eggs. And that's how I make speckled paper egg embellishments. Here I've used them in an Easter art journal page, but you could also use them in card making or other paper crafts.